making a lot of money and being famous is fun for someone young because it's exciting, but that's not why I do what I do.
There was a time when Christy McNichol was everywhere. Her smile lit up television screens. Her presence felt effortless, real, honest in a way that couldn't be taught. She wasn't just acting. She was feeling, and audiences could tell. In the 1970s and early 80s, she wasn't just another young star rising through Hollywood's machine. She was the machine's heartbeat, the girl everyone trusted, the face people felt safe watching. But then, at the exact moment everything should have gotten bigger, she vanished. No scandal, no dramatic goodbye, no final curtain call. Just silence. And for decades, that silence became the mystery. Until people finally started asking the right question. What does it take for someone who has everything to walk away from all of it? If you're drawn to stories like this, the ones Hollywood doesn't fully tell, subscribe now. Because stories like this don't just entertain. They reveal what fame really costs. Back to the beginning. Back to Los Angeles. A city built on dreams, but not always kind to the people chasing them. Christy McNichol wasn't born into luxury. There were no red carpets waiting for her. No industry connections clearing the path. Just a modest home, a hardworking mother, and a father who left far too early. That absence didn't just create a gap in the family. It created pressure. Her mother, Carolyn, carried everything. Bills, responsibilities, survival itself. She worked wherever she could. Offices, makeup counters, even small film gigs, doing whatever it took to keep food on the table. This wasn't a story about chasing fame. This was a story about staying afloat. And sometimes, those are the same thing. One day, on a low-budget film set, Carolyn brought her kids along because she had no other option. And someone noticed them. A casual comment. They'd be great in commercials. That was it. No grand discovery. Just a door, quietly opening. Soon, both Christy and her brother Jimmy were auditioning. Toothpaste ads, cereal commercials, soft drinks. Small things. But they paid. Jimmy adapted quickly, easygoing, natural. But Christy was different. There was something deeper, something harder to explain. Even as a child, her eyes carried emotion most actors spend years trying to fake. She didn't just deliver lines. She understood them. And that made people pay attention. By her early teens, she was already appearing on television. Small roles at first, then bigger ones. And then came the role that changed everything. Family. She was just 13 years old. But what she did with that role didn't feel like something a 13-year-old should be capable of. Buddy Lawrence wasn't perfect. She wasn't polished. She wasn't the idealized version of youth television loved to sell. She was complicated. Sensitive, confused, emotional, real. And Christy didn't act like Buddy. She was Buddy. The performance hit something audiences weren't used to feeling. Honesty. Critics noticed. Awards followed. 3 Emmy nominations. 2 wins. And just like that, she wasn't just a working actress anymore. She was America's little sister. Famous. Loved. Watched. But here's what nobody asks. What happens when a child becomes the emotional center of millions of lives before she's even figured out her own? Behind the cameras, life didn't slow down. It accelerated. Her mother managed everything, but also depended on her income. And somewhere along the way, the roles reversed. Christy wasn't just the daughter anymore. She became the provider, the stable one, responsible one. I felt like the grown-up, she would later admit. That's the part people don't see. While other teenagers were figuring out who they were, Christy was making sure everything didn't fall apart. No normal school life, no space to breathe, no time to fail. Just work. Always work. By 18, she had already lived a lifetime most people wouldn't understand. And Hollywood? Hollywood didn't see exhaustion. It saw opportunity. When family ended, the offers came flooding in, and she said yes to all of them. Because saying no was never something she learned how to do. Little Darlings in 1980 changed her image. She wasn't just the sweet, emotional girl anymore. She was bold, independent, complicated. The performance hit hard. Audiences connected. Critics praised her. Even Roger Ebert took notice. And just like that, she wasn't just loved. She was respected. But success doesn't slow pressure. It multiplies it. More roles followed, bigger paychecks, more expectations. And behind it all, a young woman quietly falling apart. Because when your entire identity is built on performance, you don't know who you are without it. The cracks didn't appear overnight. They built slowly, quietly, like pressure behind glass, until eventually, something gives. By the early 80s, something gives. By the early 80s, the weight became too much. The schedules, the expectations, the constant need to be on. Her body started reacting. Panic attacks, sleepless nights, weight loss, emotional collapse. And when she asked for help, she was told to keep going. Push through. That's the industry's favorite phrase. Push through. Even when you're breaking. Then came the breaking point. A film shoot in France. Beautiful location. Perfect on the outside. But inside, everything was unraveling. When she returned, doctors finally put words to what she was experiencing. Exhaustion. Trauma. Emotional collapse. But labels didn't make it easier. If anything, they made it real. And reality is harder to ignore. The media didn't help. They never do. Instead of understanding, they turned it into a narrative. Unstable. Fallen. The same industry that lifted her up now stepped back. That's the paradox of fame. They celebrate you for shining, then abandon you for burning out. Still, she tried to return. More roles. More attempts. But something had changed. The spark wasn't gone, but the cost of using it had become too high. Behind closed doors, the truth became clearer. This wasn't just stress. It was deeper. Eventually diagnosed as bipolar disorder. Something that, at the time, people barely understood and definitely didn't talk about. But through all of it, one person stayed. Her brother, Jimmy. Not as a co-star, not as a colleague, but as support. Real support. He stepped in when she couldn't stand on her own. And for the first time in her life, someone was taking care of her. Not the star, not the provider. Just Christy. By the mid-80s, she had become something rare in Hollywood. A success story that disappeared. Not because she failed, but because she chose survival. Then, in 1988, a return. Empty nest. A softer role. A stable environment. Something closer to normal. And for a while, it worked. The audience welcomed her back. The industry embraced her again. It looked like a comeback. But inside, the waves never stopped. Some days were manageable. Others weren't. And eventually, she made the decision that changed everything. She walked away. Again. No announcement, no drama, just distance. Years later, she explained it simply. She needed to protect herself. That's it. No elaborate story, no hidden scandal, just a human being choosing peace over pressure. And maybe that's the most powerful part of all this. Because in a world where people fight to stay visible, she chose to disappear. On purpose. The years that followed weren't loud. They weren't glamorous. They were quiet. And that quiet became healing. She taught acting, not for fame, but for connection. She lived simply, built a life that didn't revolve around cameras. And slowly, she became something she had never had the chance to be. Herself. In 2012, she shared another truth. Not for attention, not for headlines, but for honesty. She came out. After decades of silence. Not to shock people, but to help others feel less alone. That's the difference between performance and truth. One is for the audience. The other is for survival. Today, Christy McNichol lives far from the spotlight that once defined her. No chaos, no pressure, no expectations. Just peace. And maybe that's the real ending to this story. Not tragedy, not loss, but choice. Because she didn't lose Hollywood. She walked away from it. And in doing that, she found something most stars never do. Freedom. And sometimes, that's the greatest performance of all.